It's all a laugh, really. We're just here on this weird matrix of a bloop of reality, trying to survive out here. This work has just made me so much more open to life in general and just the intricacies of everything. So when astrology came along and all of those subjects, life was very different from that point onwards because I just had this thirst to search and find things. It's a language that a lot of people just don't know how to speak. These patterns just started forming on the page and I would build on them and they would just kind of evolve into these really strange patterns that I'd never drawn before. It was a natural transition to then bring in the astrology in that style and it just fit. Your astrology chart is this magnet at the core of you that you're going to have your tendencies that you revert back to. I make art based on people's astrology charts called astro codes. And firstly, I tune in and then I use alchemical and esoteric symbolism to depict the main themes in someone's chart. So the sun, moon, rising, the midheaven, the north node, all the personal planets that gets encoded into the piece. And this is literally a practical tool for self-healing and manifestation. So you won't have seen anything like it.
Hello, hello, hello. Good day, good morning, good evening, good night, and welcome to another episode of the Oliver Schirach Show with me, your host. And today it's a second interview, part 2 with Alice, our UK-based music producer, singer, songwriter, visual artist, astrology enthusiast, and astro code artist maker. And in this second episode, as you could already hear in the intro, are we talking more about the astrology, astro code, how it went? How did you come up with this sacred geometry art combined with astrology? What happened in her life? So she shares that path, that journey, and she also shares a little bit about astrology. What is astrology and how did that come into her life? And we just had a great time talking about astrology, astro art, and the mystical, the spiritual, the woohoo stuff. We also talked about her different offerings and the sizes, the colors, and what you can expect with it and how to use it. So if you're into astrology, personal growth, improvement, energy healing, whatever, then you're in the right place with this episode. So welcome to Alice.
Red.
I see red.
Yeah, we started the recording. You're back on the second interview, Alice from the UK, musician, artist, astrology, spiritual, whatever, mystical, everything. The first episode, we went unexpectedly down your music path. And I didn't do music, so now I have like this. Ground when I think of you. So, what was it? Mother Earth and the other
Motherland.
one. Motherland, yes, and the other one we talked about in the first episode. They're just playing in the back of my head.
Oh, awesome!
It has like
to get stuck.
Yeah, Ohrwurms. You say in German. I don't know what you say like this when it keeps on running.
Oh, Ohrwurms. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, Ohrwurm means like it's like a ohr is the ear, and it's the earworm. It's kind of like a worm in your ear, like, which is kind of
just having a party in the ear.
Yeah, so let's see. So now, why I reached out to you in the first place was like this beautiful art you create with this nice geometry and astrology. And when you go onto your Instagram, that's where I found you. It's written Astro Code, astrology chart art, and see your soul in symbols. That's the latest post I've seen. I think that's kind of encapsulating what you do there. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it's an evolving discovery for me, creating them, to be honest, as to what they actually are. So, I mean, yes, they are primarily based on someone's astrology chart. So the key placements, every single sign has such a wealth of esoteric alchemical symbolism related to it. And over the years of my own study of these subjects, I collected a lot of information, all in from these different teachers, like Manly P. Hall, and, just went down a lot of kind of routes. And, I just love information. I love like discovering information. And because I also created art, just I would just draw fairies and things like that. I didn't start drawing these geometrical drawings actually until like later. Um, and anyway, so I began drawing these, just doodling at a call center, these random geometrical shapes. And over time, they just evolved into what they are now. I had like a crazy moment in the shower where something was like black and gold. So um, I went and bought the materials and just randomly started making, all the stuff that you see on my Insta. So
Yeah,
I was just, yeah, yeah, go ahead.
yeah. It's mainly the black. Yeah, it's mainly the black gold or black silver. I don't know if that's also or the black gold which you post, right? That's what I see
Yeah,
mostly. But when I went down
yeah,
on your webpage and you offer different things, but let's look at the offerings you give, the options, how you call it, the different product services you offer a little bit further down in the interview. Uh, because yeah, you have different things, I think. But let's go into the story because you kind of teased. I don't remember if it was in the podcast or after
yeah.
or
As I was
before.
talking, as I was just explaining there, I was like, I hope I'm not repeating myself because I can't remember what I said in the last podcast, but maybe
I
you'll remember.
I don't really remember. I wanted to re-listen to it, but yeah, I'm going down my different paths, avenues of chaos, uh, and
As
I
we all are.
yeah, that's as we are, right? People like us, creative people, we destroy and create and
Yeah,
go in weird paths sometimes.
yeah.
But so I don't remember if it was before the interview or after the interview or during the interview we talked about or you teased about um, basically opening a can of worms with the whole path of this astro codes, your whole journey, why astrology, why the art, and how you combine that because it's something else to the music, I guess, but still complementary as things normally are. Everything is connected, even though it seems to be separated. I mean, our healthcare is
Yeah,
like this is the head and this is the heart, so it's not connected, but
yeah.
we know it is all connected somehow. Um,
Well, it's all, just it's all vibration and frequency at different forms, whether it's music, art, your nose, or my sofa. Like it's all the same matter, just vibrating at different things. So the art and the music obviously are closer in vibration with what I do because it's firstly coming from me and it's an expression of feeling through something you can sense. Um, so I don't know if that answers your question, but they are
oh,
linked. They are certainly linked. And I'm still discovering that for myself as I'm creating them. And I have lots of ideas of how I'm going to further integrate them together, which maybe I can talk about later. But
yeah. Because I didn't really have a question. I just like blabbering um, around, trying to fuffing my ideas and thoughts.
faffing around the ideas.
um, but basically, as I wanted to say, like the whole story behind where it comes from. You mentioned you were drawing fairies. So as a child or in your early ages, you just drew fairies and fantasy stuff, or
Yeah.
well, how was that?
Yeah, yeah.
And your astrology upbringing or your mystical or spiritual upbringing, you have anything from your childhood, or was it just coming fully grown up after a big breakup with the love of the life, after running away from the marriage? I have no idea. And then everything came, or was it something that you always had?
Well, I was always, as I said, yeah, before even making music, I think I was drawing fairies and sassy alien women. I just loved drawing very feminine, kind of goddess style fantasy women for some reason. Um, and the astrology. So my dad is actually an astrologer. I mean, not full time, but he studied in the 70s when it, was really coming over in the West in a bigger way. So he studied for a bit. I think I actually recently spoke to him, but he said that he found the way they were teaching it quite restrictive, like it was just almost too like rule based, and he wanted to kind of explore other parts of astrology. And it was limiting. So he got, the bare bones of the knowledge and then kind of took it on his own path of discovery. So my dad was obviously, of that mindset. And, he was really interested in UFOs and had loads of really cool books on, you know, like Graham Hancock and
Uh-huh.
just lots of like Eric von Daniken. And, my dad loved all of that stuff. And because, I, for some reason, it just was always naturally drawn to that mystical side. My sister, not so much in the same way. She is fascinated by it, but I think I just had more of for some reason, a draw to it when my dad would talk about it. So, you know, it started off, he did my astrology chart and because he's also a musician as well. So my dad plays violin for the Royal Opera House.
Ah,
So
yeah, you
on
mentioned
his,
it.
yes, yeah. So on the way to work on the train, he would just do free astrology chart readings for people in his little kind of notepad and, write out a reading for them just on the train. So I was like, "Oh, dad, can you do mine?" I think I was like 19, 18, 19. So
Oh,
when
that
he wrote,
late? So you
yeah, that
waited that
late, I'm
late?
like, "Damn it, dad." Yeah, so I mean, I was still intrigued before then, but I don't think I had asked for a reading, but I was like, I think he kind of just started doing them in that way at that point in time. So he did the reading for me, and that just kind of blew my mind open. And I started reading loads of his other books, about auras and, other esoteric things. And my mind's just, from the age of 19, I also stopped really, well, when I was 15, I was actually, my first boyfriend kind of got me into conspiracy theories. And I remember watching Zeitgeist when it came out. And that just like blew my mind open. So I think I was already kind of on that path of seeing beneath the surface of things and wanting deeper truth to things. So when astrology came along and, all of those subjects, it just, life was very different from that point onwards because I just had this thirst to search and find things. Up until that point, I think I'd stopped drawing fairies. That was more like a little girl thing. Um, and I didn't really do that much drawing. I think I started doing more pencil drawings and more just like copying images that I liked, but it was just every now and again. But as I said, I was working at a call center, I think in like 2013. And obviously it's very boring. I was just doing surveys on the phone and I had my notebook and I just started, these patterns just started forming on the page and I would build on them and they would just kind of evolve into these really like strange patterns that I'd never drawn before. I had no point of reference as to why they came out. And this guy walked past my desk and he was like, "Whoa, man, that looks like a DMT trip I had." So I was like, "Okay, cool. I don't know what that feels like, but great." And I had a few other people say, "Oh, that looks like an LSD trip," or like, "That's what it looks like when you're kind of in those other realms." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Maybe I'm like tapping into something quite interesting here." So I'll just carry on. And that was when the flash in the shower came to start doing the black and gold came. So I was just drawing, I was just doing it in between music, making these drawings. It was more for relaxation and meditation more than anything, just to like calm my brain down. But I started building this portfolio of pictures and more symbols started coming in. The more, I in between that, I would be listening to different channelers like Bashar and um, like just talks by Graham Hancock and other, interesting people like Rupert Sheldrake. And I was just absorbing so much information. And yeah, all of these symbols, and it felt like ancient symbols or these things were just showing up in the artwork. And one day, my friend, after I'd been just making random drawings for friends for their birthdays and things like that, she said, "Oh," she was like, is there any way you could somehow like put her, her astrology in the piece?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a really good idea. Like, maybe I can try." So I pulled up her chart and then I realized, wow, I actually know more about this than I thought I did, and I knew all the different symbology related to her placements. And I could look at her chart and get a vibe of, what were the main themes for her elementally, like water, fire, earth, and, bringing all of those things into it. I knew the alchemical symbols for that. So it was a very natural transition from just making these kind of just random channeled, what I called them just frequency drawings. It was like just a moment in time, the sacred geometry, the shape that wanted to come through at that time. It was a natural transition to then bring in the astrology in that style. And it just fit. And I was, wow, this is actually really fun. I love doing this. So I I think I found some Facebook groups, some astrology Facebook groups. I'd done a few at that time for friends, and I posted them in this Facebook group, and was just like, "Hey guys, like I make artwork based on people's astrology charts. Like, I'm haven't been doing it for ages, but if anyone wants a piece, like blah blah blah." And that's where it all kind of began, and then it just has become such a huge. That's like my main kind of life trajectory aside from music is making all these kind of bespoke pieces. So hopefully that explains the story as concisely as I can.
Yeah, 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 no, my friend says I'm a storyteller, so and I'm very curious uh, by default. So there's like a lot of questions I have. So your dad was having all these books, and he was doing the astrology for people. Was it like the typical like this week's astrology for you, or was he like more looking at like the energy and personality of the people?
Yeah, it was
Uh,
more natal chart readings. So he would just look at, their aspects and, the house placements where they're, and then just create, a short handwritten reading based on their chart. But I read mine back actually recently, and it was really, I like the way he approaches astrology because he talks about things that I don't see many astrologers talk about. Like he really did go on his own path with it, focusing on different parts like the North Node, not to get to astrology mom, talking in the words people might not understand. But he was
why not?
basically extracting, well,
we
he
we
was
can go nerdy.
extracting, we can go nerdy. Well, he focuses a lot on the North Node placements, the kind of the axis, which is the karmic path, where what house that's in. And that kind of denotes where your soul is coming from and where your soul is going. It's a really interesting part of the chart to focus on because it's like your guiding star. So I also in my astro codes, for me, I always place their North Node at the top of the piece because it's that North Star. It's where the person's kind of energy is trying to evolve towards. So so yeah, Dad's kind of approach with it. Um,
And the North Node, is that like a specific star like Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, or is it something else for the
no,
people?
so it's basically I don't even know how to fully explain it, but it's not a planet. It's the nodes. It's the nodal points. So it's kind of like these shadow points in the sky that the I will butcher the meaning. I should know this, but it's not the same as a planet. It's more like a point in space. Um,
Yes,
so
and it has like
yes,
this, and it has like this because I do like the human design and the gene keys. I try to understand it that way. I tried
yeah,
astrology like 30 years ago when I was like 16, and I had no one to talk to. There was no Facebook group. I had like one or two friends that thought it was very interesting, but they couldn't teach me
yeah,
anything, and
yeah,
I didn't really evolve further. But on the human design, it's like the third and fourth point is like the north and south node, and I
yeah,
see that they're
yeah.
like these half circles with little,
Exactly. It looks like a horseshoe. It looks like
yeah,
a
exactly, with like a
horseshoe.
flip
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
uh,
that's the North Node. Yeah. So
and
because
it's
astrology and human design cross over, don't they?
exactly, yeah, and
Yeah.
numerology and Chinese and Ying Ching or whatever it's called. These
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
things, but it's based on your astrology, right? And when we talk about, just go down. When you do human design, gene keys, etc., astrology, you also look at when you're born, like the minute and
Yeah.
where. Are you
Yes.
using this precision when you do the art, or you just look at the day
Yeah.
end?
No, no. So I have all those details. There has to be an accurate birth time to get as much information as possible. Now, I don't, if someone doesn't know their birth time, it is still possible with how I do it because I'm looking at the planetary placements because sometimes I'll include aspects if it's very uh, obvious. But for the most part, I'm just looking more at the symbolism and that the more alchemical structure to their chart. But that still requires me to have, as much birth information as possible so I can pull their chart up. Because otherwise, yeah, it'll be a bit basic and not not very unique to the person. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I had in my mind the last days when I said, let's prepare for this talk. I remember, don't know, 15, 20 years of age, reading these astrology things because I had the book and I had the lunar book. And for me, it was interesting, like who fits to you? Like, okay, when you're like 15, 16, like what kind of girl, when should she be
Yeah.
born,
Yeah. It's
what
very
astrology,
basic.
and all these things. And my friend was like, you really believe these astrology, writings, the weekly or daily. It's just so generic,
It's
you
so
know,
generic.
it fits for everyone. And I'm like, yeah, of course, because it's not going into the hour when you're born. So they
Yeah.
cannot be that specific.
In a way, it does throw a massive disrespect to the science that it is, because it's not even, it's a language, it's a language that a lot of people just don't know how to speak. It's like saying, an astrologer said recently, which I thought was really interesting way to put it, is, if with the French language, you don't say, "Oh, I don't believe in French," because it's so no one can say, "I don't believe in astrology," because it's not something you believe in. It's just it's a way to communicate, our internal technology, our inner technology. It's just a language. So it is a shame with, like magazines and things like that. On one hand, it's good because it introduces people, it gets them thinking in those terms. But at the same time, it also, anyone that's slightly cynical, uh, even my sister, she worked for a magazine and she had to write the horoscopes at the back. She
Oh,
wasn't an
she had to
astrologer.
write them.
Yeah. Like,
What a
so
coincidence, huh? With her
yeah,
father, which is
exactly. Yeah. I think it was at university. It was like for the university magazine or something. But yeah, it's a shame if people kind of think that astrology is just that because it's so deep. It just is such a labyrinth of information that I swim. I know of a fair amount, but to actually be a professional astrologer that can look at a chart and see all those geometries and how that interacts. It blends science, poetry, art, psychology, geometry, like math, science, all of it is just there's no language like it. So
eh,
it needs respect thrown on it.
but it's the same when you say math. Math is a language as well. Geometry is
Yeah,
a language as well. Music as well, right? When you know how to speak it and listen to it,
yeah,
you can create beauty. Now, yeah, I'm jumping a little bit left and right. You see, I'm not super astrologer, but I know as well when you do the chart, you can select sometimes what is it, the tropical astrology and whatever. And then I
yeah,
also go to Ayurvedic yoga, the Brahma yoga, like we are all one kind of, and looking at the chakras, looking at the different doshas, and they have also their astrology. And then I
yeah,
think like the
yeah.
astrology we have is from the Arabic world, or you know a little bit more about these different ways of astrology.
Yeah, so you have different calculation systems. So, you have Placidus, which is the typical Western astrology. That's the most used system. And that kind of um takes in, from what I understand, the curvature of the earth or the whatever. It takes more in the geography, but then there's other ways that you can calculate it using an equal house. I'm skating around the topic because it's very easy to get into it and it just sounds really confusing. But basically there are different lenses that you can calculate your astrology chart. And I think that's what's important for people to understand is these are just lenses to see the same thing. So Vedic astrology, pulls up a completely different chart. It's very, our Vedic astrological chart is very different from our Western astrology chart. And I was actually talking to my dad about this and I asked him, how do we know? Like, what's the correct one? Who am I? And he was saying, his opinion is that Vedic astrology is more suited to if to India and their culture because that's where they're raised. So that is going to be more relevant to them because that's where they're born and where they're from. It's their roots. Whereas for Westerners, that's not our roots. So it's not maybe going to be as relevant to us. Now, I agree to a certain point, but I'm also of the opinion that all of these different charts basically shine through a prism and we are the central prism and we can see multiple colors of light, all of these chart systems are describing us and all the nuances that we have inside of us. And it really just depends what you're resonating with at a particular moment in time. I don't think there's any definitive right or wrong chart calculation system. It's not about this is right or this is wrong. And, for more earth, people that are strong, element of earth in their chart, that's very painful to hear because it's, that surely there's, like a way, and I get that it's good to have that container and a straight line. But unfortunately, reality just is fluid, and it is the big mystery. It is the big unknown, and all of it can be just as correct as it's not correct. And I think if you look at as many, because there's also 13th sign astrology, there's the whole sidereal astrology, which brings in a Fucus to the mix, which completely shifts the whole, constellation system. And there's always so many online debates about, no, this is the correct one. And everyone's just like, no, this is right. And it's exhausting. So I think you just have to go with what resonates. If sidereal resonates with you, go with that, because that's obviously what where you're going to get the most juice from right now in your life. If Vedic astrology, you look at that and you think, yes, that feels right. That can be the one that's right for you, and for all the others. And being open that might change. You might have a period of life where you randomly just see the sidereal chart and you're like, wow, actually that makes sense. And do you know what? So it's exercising that fluidity in our mind is cool, and that's fun. And we are multi-dimensional beings. That's what I was thinking of. We're multi-dimensional, so
Yeah, you said we're prisma and the light, and it's reflecting all these different colors. And
yeah.
wow, you just opened up like I'm completely lost. I thought, yeah, the Ayurvedic, the Vedic astrology. I've never seen it. I just know that my yoga teacher's his uncle is in his astrology group, like the little circle, and he has been sharing different parts of his life. When his uncle was like calling him, like, "How are you?" And like, why are you calling? Like, what happened today? Yeah, nothing. You have to be careful. And then calling back a certain time later, or the same day or the same week, and asking like, "Did you have an accident?" Like, why? What?
Mm,
And then
yeah.
he actually broke off the edge of a tooth. And his uncle said, according to the reading, and he was consulting his friends, and they're very well seen. So they're like in
Mm,
the top, like they're like the master astrology, as far as I understand him. And he saw that there's like an accident and severe breakage, and that means bone breakage, right?
mm.
Above the heart. So of course
Wow.
he was worried that he breaks the head or something, and then he actually broke off the edge of a tooth,
Wow.
which was actually annoying him. So
Right.
afterwards, it was easier for him to bite stuff because it was
So
like
it
one
was a
of the.
good thing.
It was a gift.
Yeah.
But he also said because he was praying to the sun. So that's what
Mm,
our yoga teacher says. He's praying to the sun. Um, so he actually pulls in the good energy. So now
yeah.
you can always take these astrology. He said for something good or bad. It just is, and
Definitely. It's the higher octave, the way that you can look at it as well, if you do think of music, because it is very connected with music, because it's frequency at the end of the day. With every single placement or aspect or anything, or, wherever, if you have the worst chart in the world, there's no such thing. There's either a higher octave way that you're going to live those placements are going to be lived out, or the lower octave. And it's just up to us to be as much in our center as we can. We're the center of our astrology chart. I was talking with a friend about this the other day, and we just had this realization that the best way to be very in tune with your chart is to be in your center as much as you can, which means being so embedded in your physical body, rooted to the ground. We spoke about this, I'm just remembering now in the podcast,
uh,
having those techniques down so you can be at the complete center of yourself. So then all of the geometries that your chart has inside of it, whether that's Vedic, whatever, Placidus, they can be functioning harmoniously and doing what they need to do and giving you the lessons you need, in a smooth way. But if we're off our center or we're like that, then it kind of throws everything off. So if you have like, I don't know, Moon square Pluto, the positive, the positive expression of that is, self-control and like having a really the ability to like focus your emotions and being an amazing psychologist where you can like hold people in their darkness, Pluto emotions, that's the positive thing. But if you're off your center, that moon of Pluto, moon square Pluto, could be you're like overly controlling, you know, you're explosive, like your emotions are just like really just volatile, not volatile, that would be more Mars, but just like twisted, you know. So yeah, just having that central point is so, so important. I'm trying to think what you originally said, but I've gone off on a tangent.
No, that's okay.
But it's fine.
That's my podcast. My podcast is not controlled. I don't know if I should be more controlling. According to Ayurveda, back fire Pitta, I'm tridoshic, so but my air is completely. I don't know what my
Right,
astrology chart says.
right, right. Yeah, you should have. I'm sure it will line up. Yeah. There was another thing I was going to say. That I have had that Vedic astrology is much more refined at that more predictive side. Or they just yeah. I've heard stories of that it can kind of get really in depth on those kinds of things. I think you can do that with any kind of astrology, depending on the astrologer. But yeah, I've heard similar stories with Vedic. It's not something I've massively looked into, but I'm so fascinated by it. Yeah, because they bring other things into it that Western astrology doesn't, like stars and cool points in the sky. You know, there's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we are also flying around the center of the universe. So I mean, we think we're the center of the universe. Perhaps we are. It depends how you look at the spiritual
I've gone down many rabbit
mental.
holes with all of that stuff. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
open. I'm
okay,
open
you
to
know,
all
y-
realities.
I just sent a message to a friend, which says he has seen the creation, the console of creation, and all realities are basically folders on the hard drive. So you can, when you go
Mm,
out of this reality, you can go into another reality. I don't really
mm,
understand it because I don't have experiences like that. Not even my mushroom or ayahuasca has been eye-opening in that perspective.
mm.
My mushroom was just like a lot of yellow colors and shapes and waves.
Nice.
When I had closed eyes, when I had open eyes, everything was dull and like
Oh
grayed out
wow.
and was boring. And my friend was like, "Open the eyes, look at the beauty, look at the colors." I'm like, he's too much. He was at that time. I don't know how he is now. We haven't really spoken, but he was very introverted. After work, he went
Mm,
home in front of the computer, so he
right.
opened the eye for the outside. I was always looking outside, so I closed the eyes. So we had like this
That's
opposite.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. It
But it
gives
was
you the
not.
medicine, the opposite medicine you need.
Yeah, but I heard that because I talked to someone else. He was in Bali, where mushrooms are legal, everything else is illegal, and he's a musician, and
Mm.
his hearing went that he couldn't hear anymore. And
On
when the trip,
mushrooms, when you had
yeah,
mushrooms.
yeah,
Wow.
and when they were done with the trip, his friends were like, "Wow, this was amazing! I heard the frogs, I heard the water drops falling from a leaf, and all kind of stuff." And he just heard nothing, but he works with sound all the time as a sound engineer.
Wow. Wow.
Right, so it's kind of
That's
like that.
really interesting.
I was
That's
like, that's fun. But then going down that rabbit hole, I was speaking to several people. They're like, yeah, taking DMT externally, ayahuasca, mushrooms, whatever it is, coyote, whatever there is out, it basically allows you only to a certain frequency, to a certain level
mm,
of information, because you're
mm,
clearly not doing the work to actually clean the. Now, when we say being in your center, right, as we talk, so now we have to make a link to the other episode. We were talking about like the energy bubble and the rooting and I think the red rot, stuff like that. So when you're not really centered, right, then the energy centers are not really active,
yeah.
or some of them, or blocked, and the energy doesn't flow, like the meridians, the aura, the
Yeah.
chakras, and I've
Yeah.
heard the 8 energy fields somehow. Uh,
I think there's more. I think there's so many. Again, I think it's this human tendency that we have to put things in all these like neat digits and numbers, and it's like there's 7 chakras and the 8, you know. But there's probably is probably looks and actually is beyond our wildest imagination what we actually are and what.
Yeah, yeah.
It's-
I mean, there's like 7 or 8 main chakras, and
yeah,
Jesus has been talking about that. And the Templars Night, I've just heard talk also about these things,
yeah.
and that they've been, yeah. Well, we're not opening that subject, but basically, so you're not really aligned or don't have like the good flow. So now you take one of these substances, instead of working on your inner stability to get inside yourself and to be able that, like the Pluto in square with the moon or whatever you said, with the emotions, that before you don't get that really in balance, and then you start taking these mind expanding substances,
Mm,
uh, if you would be able to go all the way, you would get so much energy and so much information, but you're not really balanced. That could be
exactly.
really bad. So that's what I heard. Is that therefore, when you take those, many people talk with the mushroom, whatever dwarfs or whatever it is, elves,
Machine
and
elves.
yeah, or aliens or whatever, and they give them information, they answer, and the information is valid and everything, but it's
Yeah.
all based on where you are. And I've also heard from some people, they were sent back and said, "Why are you coming back? I told you to do the real work." um, Stop
Yeah.
taking these things. Do the work now. You got the
Yeah.
information. You don't get more. So it's kind of like then
Yeah.
you can go to the next level. But
Oh,
I don't
yeah. I
know for
think that's,
myself.
yeah, I think it's, I mean, I haven't taken any psychedelics. I, for some reason, I've had opportunities and that's the world that I am absorbed in terms of like what I create. And you would think that I'd done loads of psychedelics probably, but I haven't done any. I just know if I'm supposed to, like, I want to be in the most grounded place in myself that I possibly can be for that exact reason, because I know how already whimsical my mind can go, that it's almost like I don't I don't feel the need to do it now unless it really presents itself as necessary, because I feel like I
Yeah.
can tap into it in other ways. And because I just know I don't know. I just need, it's important to be in the right environment. And as I said, just the older I get, the more I'm just realizing everything is about bringing yourself to your center. Only then can you healthily experience life, and whatever is going to come at you, it has to be, that inner technology. And to bring it back to the Astro codes, that's what I've been really thinking about. And after creating my own for myself, which took me 6 years, I only created my own this year. And I've been learning so much from seeing my own Astro code and what it's actually done for me. And just talking about the inner technology, I realized that's what an Astro code is it's a representation of our inner technology. So when I wake up, I look at my Astro code, I trace my eyes like around the lines and all the spaces in between. And it gives me this feeling where I'm like, oh, I'm home. Okay. I feel at home within myself. And I've realized with so much of, even just taking too many, like, substances or books, even going to like retreats and things like that. It's like it's all well and good, but if you don't have that true sense of self and connection to your inner technology, your inner alchemy, and what things you have inside of you, there's just no point. It's not going to land. There's nowhere for all of that great information to actually land and be embodied. It has to be that inside out. And that's what sages and, they've been saying all this time is like, go within. The answer is within. And I don't feel like people really deepen that enough, because we're all still, and I'm not exempt from that. I'm always listening to things and externalizing my search. But I'm realizing more and more that it's everything can be found in them first. And actually, only then can you truly actually enjoy the information and absorb more. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that was a
that's what
talk we
I've
had.
been pondering.
Yeah, that's when we started the talk. You were fuffing around, and I was also cleaning up the external world instead of, cleaning up the internal world. Uh,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had that short talk.
Yeah, and it's easier said than done. I definitely am not sitting here and like, oh, I have it all together. But it's just I've just realized like, damn, yeah, this is it. This is what needs to happen. Like, I don't want to listen to another podcast, or I do, but it's in like it has to be paired with that, real work inside of like I can sit with myself when I feel horrendous, and I can hold myself, and I can nourish myself emotionally. And, it's people don't want to do that. People can be afraid of that work because it can be scary. We're not taught how to do that.
No, 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 no. But that's, yeah. Again, yeah, I'm always referring back to yoga. Yesterday we had the yoga session, and the teacher also said like, you learn about what happens when the fire burns, right? Like how to extinguish it and what to do, but you don't learn how to handle your inner fire,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? As a teenager, Ayurvedic again, there's naturally a lot of fire and emotions and all these things going around. And the old Ayurvedic say 108 sun salutations from, I don't remember what age, 10 to 22 or something like that. So you use and focus that fire instead of all
Yeah.
kind of weird stuff, right? Going for
Yeah.
drugs,
Yeah.
whatever, right? Alcohol and so on and so forth.
Yeah. 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 Because it can't be transmuted like that. I mean, it can't be destroyed. It's still going to be there. It's just finding ways to redirect it in a way that's going to
Yeah,
enhance and not deplete. Yeah.
our culture is not built like that, or the school system for that matter.
No.
So also
No.
being silent and still, it's not a part of school. And especially here in Denmark, you have like 20, 30 minutes lunch break. How can
Wow.
you go into your center during work time? You cannot.
Mhm. Yeah.
And there's so many people here in Denmark. I've heard like the Danish kids are the most medicated kids for mental disorder, right? And then I'm not wondering because I had like 1 to 1.5 hours lunch break as a kid in Switzerland. And like
Mm.
30 minutes is the minimum by law. You have to have a break. And I remember when I was at work, I took between 45 to 1.5 hours, depending where I work. I mean, sometimes I had like flexible hours. So when I needed, I just took a longer break. And I was just sitting there looking at the river or looking at the
Yeah.
trees
Yeah.
or
Just
whatever.
being. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
forgot about that. And I cannot blame Denmark. It's as we said, things are coming to us to teach, um, or
Yeah.
to. I did things just because it was natural until I didn't do them anymore. Now I have to relearn them.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's the fun. That's the fun of life. Like it can get really serious. Like they didn't teach us, and I can get really like frustrated at it. But it's just, it's all a laugh, really. We're just here on this weird matrix of a bloop of reality, trying to survive out here.
While you shared, I was thinking you said it took you 6 years to make your own astrology code. So it's like for 6 years you're doing these art pieces, or
Yeah, for 6 years. Yeah, and I was
wow.
just making them for other people. Classic. I just didn't. I felt weird and self-indulgent making one for myself. I just couldn't. It didn't. I guess things would say to myself, "Well, I should make myself one, but why? What's the point?" That was like the thing in my head. And then this year, I've numerology wise, I've just entered a one pinnacle, a one year, and so it's a lot of fresh beginnings. It's a lot of self worth stuff, and it just I kind of took that seriously, and I was like, "Okay, how can I?" Because I know my self-worth has been on the floor, like, my whole life, the relationships I've attracted, and it's all a reflection of my self-worth. So, I just thought, "This is the year. This is the year I make myself an Astro code," and it was epic. I had such a strange feeling when I finished it of, like, waves of energy. It was really bizarre. It was really and it reflected what people had fed back to me, their feeling, which, intellectually I understood and I could feel, wow, yeah, I can imagine because I know how I feel when I'm making it for them. So it's great that it translated. But to have that feeling for myself with my own Astro code was pretty wild.
Yeah, so that's one of the open questions I have noted down. So what is the feedback you get from the Astro Code from the people? The benefits, the changes people see, or the aha moments or the insights?
Well, one woman actually said recently, which was really interesting, that an hour before her Astro code arrived, she started getting these really like buzzing sensations all through her body. And it was like everything kind of uh, converged into like one thing. So it was so bizarre. And then her Astro code, she saw it. I think it was I'd sent her an email because she wanted it for a tattoo. So it was before her physical, before the email arrived. And she, said she looked at it and it just, like, confirmed everything, and she felt like she was just, in a really good place, basically. So it was really activating. I can't think of the exact phrases she used, but it was along those kinds of lines. And yeah, just people kind of feedback that like, a woman said the other day how when she has been looking at hers, like, it's kind of bringing her to tears because it's helped her realize, like, she is on the right path and, she's just felt is just kind of brought her back home, in a way, which is really lovely because all of that, when I'm intending for it and before I make it and I make the intentions, it's always, I just intend for the wholeness of the person. It's not like, oh, just positive energy coming into them. It's like, great. I want the whole, like whatever is going to make this person whole in themselves, let's bring that through through into the paper for this person. Um, that's always really important for me. And to bring joy as well, just like, through joy, it doesn't have to be heavy, but just whatever can bring wholeness for them. That's the intention. So when I get feedback like that, it's really amazing. And just, yeah, similar things like that. I mean, some people I only hear from them a bit after, or, they've said they've received it and it's just kind of just changed them in a way. So there's I can't even think of testimonials off the top of my head, but there's people have said some really kind things, which is all on my website, the testimonial section. With that.
Yeah, we're back, back, hopefully for good. You're just sharing experiences from other people, and that it feels good. And one one thought I had, like over the 6 years, like the first ones you made were just for friends, and someone asked you actually to put the astrology charts up. Do you remember how they reacted, and if it changed over the years? If there's more different feedback, did the arts change?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like any skill, the more you do it, the more, the better you get. So when I look at the Astro codes, when I first started doing them, which was, as I said, yeah, it was just for friends. And to be honest, I didn't, it wasn't even Astro codes at that point. When I first started doing commissions, it was just more so I would just draw whatever sort of came through and I, intend for the person. But they were just, I mean, they were just a bit more simplified, I suppose. I guess it's been much more refined in my technique and attention to detail and just incorporating even more kind of symbols. I would say that before I was relying more on my intuition in a way to weave it together. And the more astrological knowledge that I've gained in that 6 years, the more I can feed into based on their chart and just bring a bit more depth to it. And I've just got more of a kind of structure that can go alongside the intuition to give it more of like a streamlined focus for that person, if that makes sense. Whereas before it was a bit more like, oh, put a bit of their astrology and then just like whatever else comes through. And that is still part of it, but it's just more like, you know, I feel much more streamlined with it. So I can just give something more personal.
Yeah, and the
Um,
feedback and the experience people have has also changed through that.
yeah, I mean, to be honest, no, I would say there's still exactly the same sort of feedback. It seems that this activation aspect and this feeling of like coming home to themselves seems to be, throughout the whole thing. So that's good. That's good because it means my initial intention has continued throughout. And I suppose because it's bespoke, naturally, if we receive something bespoke for us, naturally it's gonna have that instant connection. It's just more so my technique as an artist has improved, but the initial kind of intention, yeah, is still there and being received, it seems. So that's the main thing.
When the people get this art, do you also make kind of like astrology reading, or is it just the piece? You just send like the piece. Here's your piece. You're born whatever 18th of April 1980 at 7 o'clock in Bristol, and here is your drawing, your art. Or do you
So
write something with it? Like
I do,
I can.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I send them the piece and then I also write a description how the symbolism I've included, how each section relates to their chart. So, and I'll write a little bit about what their North Node placement means, the midheaven placement means for them specifically, their numerology life path number. And I just explain how, for example, if I've used a upward facing triangle, that's related to the element of fire and what that's related to, and then the symbols that are woven on that speak to other fire things in their chart. So it's like a kind of just an A4 size description that really So when they're looking at their piece, they're like, oh, that's connected to that part of me. And, there's more context. It gives context basically. And then I do write down on a little business note card. I have it here actually. Um, I write down like their placements. So this is, with a sun,
Okay.
moon and, all of that. So they've got that. And then just kind of like an instruction manual of how to use it. So it says, um, thank you for, entrusting me with this piece. As part of your daily centering practice, slowly trace your eyes around the lines, the shapes, and the spaces in between. Your Astro Code connects you intimately to your own personal geometry. Whenever you feel off balance, simply gaze at your code for a few cycles of breath. Allow your center to gently connect back into the earth beneath you. And wishing you a beautiful day. So that comes in like a nice little package. Because for me, I want the experience when they receive it. This has always been an important component for me. That when they receive it, it's a really magical experience. So I gift wrap it and,
Just
write their name and just really personalize it. So when they receive it, it's in a nice envelope and it's, oh, the reveal of me.
now
So
finally I know me.
yeah, I did. I used to put little sprinkles of lavender in that bag, so there'd be like the scents when they open it as well. But I think it kept getting stopped at customs. Like the sniffer dogs are like, "What's the shit in this bag?" So I had to stop putting the herbs in the bag, which is sad. But yeah.
Lavender. Oh my god, the dog stopped for lavender. By the way, I have my dog here. She's licking my arms now.
Oh,
How comes that you suddenly come, huh? And she's looking at me like like puppy eyes and the ears
wow.
all flat to the head. Like, did I do something wrong?
Oh, bless.
But you can see on the video, I can still see the sunset, but it's not enough light for my face to be really lit anymore.
Oh yeah, you just emerge out of the dark.
Yeah, I'm doing the mystical kind of part now of this episode, right?
Yeah. Now we
I,
go into the cave, the cavern of darkness.
yeah, and I mean, I cut the beard a few weeks ago. My daughter was not so happy, but she said like, "Oh, it's a bit rounder now than before. Don't have like the druid wizard beard anymore." And and the hoodie. I have always hoodies on. Perhaps for another episode, we take the dark cave and put the candle lights around us. And
Yeah. Halloween special.
yeah, we can do the Halloween special. It's full moon, kids, by the way, or like 2 days ago. At least yesterday evening, it was very round. No, this morning
Mm,
actually,
yeah.
it was foggy, and I could see the moon perfectly around. So I don't know. So
Yeah, it
we're
was
still in the
very
energy.
yeah, that's like lingers for a few days, give or take, either side. So it
Yeah.
can still be harnessed today for sure if people haven't done their rituals. Well, they're not going to see this till for a while, but yeah.
Yeah, with my routine at the moment, my friend said, "Don't take it so bad." I'm pretty bad at the moment. I'm very behind. So
Oh, it's fine. We all are. We all are.
no, so now I lost a little bit the thought of train because I'm licked here. I'm completely wet on my arm. Uh,
I was doing a demonstration of what
y-
comes with the Astro
yes,
code.
which is very beautiful. Yes, like you have like the Apple kind of experience, and like many people like this. And this was actually one of my other questions, open questions I had, like how to use the art. And now you already explained
Mm,
it with your nice introduction to look at it. And I've heard from, I think, Robert Grant, the Mr. Sacred Geometry and Mathematics and all that stuff. He also said something about when you create sacred geometry, it does something to you. It kind of
yeah.
activates certain codes. So how
Yeah.
did you realize the practice of using, you know, tracing the lines of your art? Why that is beneficial? Where did you have that information from, or this insight?
I just learned it for myself basically. I when I as I said, when I created my own Astro code, it awakened more of the reverse engineer process for me because I very much feel like what I'm doing was kind of just given. And for some reason, I was, I'm just was asked to do this work, in the wild. So it's been a backwards engineering process for me as to how it can be used and what benefits it is beyond just the art. And so since having my own astrocode, I realized actually how centering it was for me to just kind of gaze at it and trace the lines. I know that they could have been used as visual meditation. People had fed back that they had been using it as part of their daily practice, just gazing at it. But they didn't necessarily say, "Oh, this is how I'm doing it." It was just part of their practice. Um, so as I said, as I do that, it's almost the feeling is as though imagine you've got kind of iron filings splayed out on a counter. It's almost like looking at the astro code and those iron filings, let's say, is our energy field. It's just a bit chaotic. But looking at the astro code, it's like it kind of goes and brings it all kind of in form, like there's this feeling inside where you come in and those iron filings are in the shape that is you energetically. So it's almost like a magnet, like a frequency magnet, you could say that, even if it's in the space, it's beaming out a frequency, I believe. I don't have the tools to measure that, but knowing, like is it Robert Edward Grant or
Yeah,
Edward Robert? Yeah.
yeah, Robert Edward Grant.
Yeah. Um, Sacred geometry does emit frequencies, it's how it happens, it's a mystery but it does something looking at it. And I think really what it is because sacred geometry has always got a focal point. It's always got a central point. That is very good to kind of balance the left and right hemisphere of our brain. So I think what I know of the astro codes is my intention for them is to bring coherence. I think sacred geometry in general, it just brings coherence between the mind and the heart because you've got the maths, with the geometry, whether, it's conscious maths or not, sacred geometry is really maths in visual form and music in visual form. Um, but it's also got so much feeling and emotion behind it as well. So it's bringing that logic, the thinking and the overthinking mind and the overly emotional mind more into coherence with each other. So that's what I believe sacred geometry is doing is it's just marrying those two parts of us together. And an astro code is doing something similar, but it's more parts, it's the alchemy within us. It's bringing that together in a coherent way by looking at it. Some people have said that they've used them as crystal grids as well, which is quite cool. And sometimes I actually will do that when I finish an astro code. I'll just put some crystals on it in certain places and just leave it in the sun or leave it in the moonlight overnight. Some of them ask for that to happen. So I put the crystals on certain points and it kind of, charges it up. Again, I don't have tests to prove this. And I know some people very, proof, but I know that that's what's happening. I know that that's what is happening, when they're placed there. So they can be used for that purpose as well, intention work. I mean, there's just multiple ways that they could be utilized that maybe I've not even discovered or people haven't. Um, Obviously, people get them tattooed, which is a whole ritual in itself. Using it on your altar for manifestation. I mean, again, there's so many ways. I was thinking as well, because if
Yeah,
people
it's just
don't know, they don't know like what I'm talking about
yeah,
or
we
how
we
the,
we probably will have to add some stuff on the video or the picture or yeah. So it's very symmetrical. That's another question I had, but of course I've
Mhm.
seen several. Wow, is that yours now or is that
No, this is someone else's. This is one
that
I
looks
actually did yesterday.
okay? What do I see here? This looks like a bull or Aries or something for like a moon circle, sun. I don't. The top looks
This
like a
is
head for me, like a horned head, something. I don't know.
yeah.
Very
So
mystical.
so I can break it down. This is not finished, by the way. This is just kind of the
No,
first layer because no. So I
first
this
layer.
this is the
Ah,
first layer of gold. So it's just a rough sketch. This will be much more filled out when it's finished. I just did this last night for someone special. Um, so just to run people through it. So the top part here, you can see there's the number 9, which I will make look more obvious, but the 9 is their numerological life path number. here is actually their north node in Aries. So they have their north node in Aries. So this is the Aries Ram. They also have their
Oh yeah, now I can see
Jupiter.
it.
They have their Jupiter and their Venus in Aries. So I wanted that to be a bigger focus because they have more focus in Aries. And I I just intuitively wanted to do these because it's kind of this fire, almost like fire rods, like beaming out, bringing that, primal energy, down into the code. And behind it is an upward facing triangle. That's the element of fire. So that's, Aries is ruled by fire. And these two symbols are Mercury, and they have
Oh.
their Mars and natal Mercury in Gemini, and Mercury rules Gemini. So that's why I did Mercury either side because that's a strong part of their chart. And the central point, I usually put the sun at the center of the piece. So the sun sign will usually be the central part. So this is their Taurus. So it's a bull, the Taurus bull. And their moon is in Capricorn. So because Taurus and Capricorn are both earth signs, I wanted that to be in the same section. So it's, feeding the earth all in through the same lens. So you can see the moons here, and
Yeah.
then Saturn, the symbol for Saturn hangs either side, and Saturn rules Capricorn. So their moon is ruled by Saturn, aka Capricorn. Does this follow? Is this making sense?
I
Kind of.
listen to these things, but I don't really understand most of it. I
Okay.
follow an astrologer which lives in Switzerland, a German girl. She's doing like all these like monthly or half year of the next
Yeah.
season. She talks about all these things. I try to understand it. But it's funny because I had like the feeling of
But
a
yeah.
bull or a Aries when I looked at
Yeah.
the thing. For me, it also looked like a head on top, or like a samurai. Actually, now that I think of it,
Interesting
probably
you say that. That's
like a
interesting you say
samurai
that.
because of the head on top, and then like the circle in the center is like the body or the armor, and then you have like the hips, leg. Uh, and the other thing is
Interesting.
what I see is above the Aries. And now I have to be honest to the people which watch it. I have a pixelated picture because my internet is bad, but it will be perfect when you have it on YouTube. Uh, in my pixelated version, just above the Aries in the center, there's like it's very bright, like the third eye is
Yeah.
completely
Yeah, yeah.
shiny.
And that
So
some of those things just come intuitively. I kind of just, the pen leads a lot of this. So I just kind of form the structure, and the pen informs me where things want to go. But that's
yes,
interesting. You say the samurai. I think it is also a bit of a like litmus test as well, where not litmus test, but just it people are gonna see different things, and that's the point really. I just have the basic structure, and then, you'll extract different things. Um, but
oh,
yeah,
that's
that's
beautiful. And that's like a
that's
small,
why
big, or what is that kind of?
this is a medium
This is a
size.
medium. Oh, how big is a
Mhm.
big then? If that's a
The
medium.
biggest size is A2.
Okay.
So this is A3 size, and then an A2. I can't remember the inches.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's actually I've just introduced a sizing structure. So
Okay.
um, this used to be the large, but I really wanted to bring in a bigger size so people have that option. So this is now the medium. This is now the medium.
Let's
Um,
upgrade, huh? Oh,
let's upgrade. But
and
there
then
is
you have also a smaller version, or
yeah. So these are some recent commissions. So this is a smaller version.
so that's
Um,
a what do you say? Like
A4,
this is an
and
A4,
then
huh?
and then this is A5. This is like a mini version.
So you have four offers, four sizes.
Four
You can choose,
sizes. Yeah, four sizes.
and you can see these are further in the process because they seem to be a little bit more thick in
Yes,
layering.
exactly, exactly. These are finished now. These are finished. I just need to do the final tiny little touch-ups, and then yeah. But yeah, that first one I showed you is yeah, as I said, the first layer of gold. So
And are you kind of lacquering them on the top when you're done, or do you do some finishing, or
no, no, just I just go over the pen and gold, so it really pops. Like, and some of them are in color now as
oh,
well.
this looks like an alien, sorry, or an owl.
Oh, maybe.
Or an owl.
Or an
But
owl.
that's the pixelation I have.
Well, yeah, yeah, it does actually look a bit like an owl now you say that. Interesting. I don't see it when I'm making it. It just
Ah,
so
yeah, that's interesting. So, but let's just continue now with the offerings you have, and then I can see whatever other question
and it
come
wasn't
to
even
mind.
to be like, yeah, I just wanted to give an example because I know that people watching, if they have no idea they're like, they have no reference points, then what I'm making.
No, 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 no. But it's like for me, it's also like, what kind of question should I ask? And I have so many open things. But now we have shown that you have the four sizes. You talked about black and gold. I went on your webpage and I saw on Instagram you were like posting people, new pricing is coming. And so I said, like, okay, let's see at the offering. So I could see you have white paper, or is it gray, or what was it? Or
Yeah, white paper, ivory. No, close to me. Um,
if you have interviews with me, you have to have everything close, right? So you can,
yeah, this is the ivory. So
okay.
it's like it's just a bit off-white, basically.
And that's, yeah. And then the colors, then there were like three different colors you could choose for the pencil art. So what colors are those? Like gold is one.
So there's actually, yeah, there's a piece can be multicolored, so it can be in an array of like it's kind of they're metallic, so it's not like I don't know if people will be able to see. There's like purple,
Yeah.
green, blue. They're kind of quite ethereal colors. So there's like a multicolored version, but then there's just gold or silver. But really, anyone can request any sort of color scheme. Like a woman asked the other day just to have, like we just, my headphone isn't like long enough. Um, she asked, she wanted to have purple and gold. So I just did this in that, just a splash of purple, but mainly gold.
Wow. Oh my God. That looks like wings growing out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so she just wanted a dash of purple, basically, and that was quite fun because we spoke on the phone and, she purple was really important to her, but she wanted it to be more subtle. So, but we just agreed, we'll just see where the purple calls itself to be, and it asked to be on the moons and some
Yeah.
little kind of portals around
It's
there.
the purple moon.
The
Isn't
purple
that
moon,
isn't that like a
purple
purple
rain,
moon?
purple
Yeah.
rain.
It's- yeah, that's another artist which has like a different level of
Different, yeah,
understanding.
another level. Yeah, yeah.
Uh, wow. Okay, so you can choose the colors, and so white, black, four sizes, and then you get a short description of an A4 page about how
Mhm.
these things are connected, and the
Yeah,
people need to basically send you in the birth uh,
just the birth, yeah, like
hours
you,
and
yeah,
wherever you're born.
yeah,
So you get the
birth
most,
date, time and place, yeah.
yeah. And you
But
connect now. Now, when you said you connect a numerology because you put the number uh, and astrology. And last time we spoke, you talked about Reiki as well. Are you
mm,
using that as well when you do the charts, or is it?
yeah, so I use that before I start the piece, in a way how it comes forward because Reiki is obviously it's a broad term really because it just means universal energy. So I just tap in however I feel called to do. Sometimes I'll just do a bit of Reiki on myself, or I'll just, go up and down and see what parts of me I'm speaking out. And then that, usually is that person there's some focus there. And so it's not so much that I include that physically in the piece, but it just sets the tone and the kind of vibration for how I'm approaching the piece. And I'll kind of move my hands around the paper before I draw anything and just really tune into the person and um their energy kind of I see cymatics in my mind or just waves or sometimes it's like flowing or it can be sharp or it's hard to explain. It's just, however energy looks. So I just get it kind of sets the tone for how the art wants to come out. And then the rest is just however it chooses to form on the page, really. So I would say, because that's what I do in my Reiki sessions, I'm tuning in to the person and they're feeding me back information from their energy. So it's just no different to when I, begin. I'm sitting there with the paper with that person in my mind. And my hands, I definitely, the more I've been utilizing it with the Astro codes, I feel my hands really revving up, let's say, the more I've been doing that with the Astro codes. So that's kind of, I think, helped improve how the pieces look as well. I think because my own spiritual practice has got stronger. So that's automatically, I think, reflecting in the art as well and
Wow.
how
Yeah,
it
but it's
feels when I'm
beautiful.
making it.
So when you say
Thank
you
you.
connect into this energetic, field, and you just feel the plate, the piece of paper, how the art will come. Are you kind of sketching up front, or you go directly with the gold and start making the circles, half circles?
No, I always do pencil first. I always do pencil first just because the gold, because I'm gonna, if I might have an idea, but like I might knock my arm or something. It just it wouldn't be great for the gold. And just to get the symmetry, it takes a lot of pencil marks and just really making sure with the ruler, and my eyes as well to kind of get it right, especially when there's like curves. Like if I'm doing, where is it? If I'm doing like the scales, it would, if I started trying to do that
Oh,
in gold right away, I mean, it would just be an absolute mess. So the pencil is what helps get that precision. And then the gold is the majestic layer after it.
yeah. I it comes up all the time, so I have to let it out of my mind. I've seen what is it called? Trolls, where they do like these scrapbooks. So I was thinking like the sparkle to you to put some sparkles on at the end of there's always these
I don't know
things.
if I know what you mean, as in
No,
like,
they have like these scrapbooks, and then they
yeah.
they they, they sprinkle this like golden
Oh, like the
sparkles on top,
glitter, yeah.
glitter stuff on top of everything. That was coming
Yeah.
up in my mind all the time.
Oh,
Don't
wow.
I?
Well, I kind of do that after. I'm like, "Cha-ching, it's ready." It's like a ceremony of
Yeah,
she's
that's
finished.
yeah. So how long does it take for you to create not to create one art? I've seen you showed several now, so it's not like you start one, you finish it, or do you, or are you just starting several and then you go back and forth depending how you feel, or how is it?
So I do actually like to be very structured with how I do them. So what I'll do is if I get a batch of, you know, I, I'll get a certain amount in a row. And what's interesting is people with very similar astrology will order in batches. It's so mad how
Really?
it works. Yeah. That's just what proves to me more that we live in a very, very mysterious reality that's much more connected than we think. Like I see it, or it might not be the astrology, or I'll get everyone back to back will have life path 4 or something. Like there's always a link between them. So I do them in those batches. I'll wait until I get a certain amount and then I hone in and I do them together. So they kind of become their own little soul family. Obviously, each one is unique to the person. But yeah, I kind of do them in the order that they were ordered, just to respect and honor, the time they came in. I won't put one ahead of the other unless, they need it for a birthday or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
the wedding
yeah,
gift.
the wedding gift, yeah, yeah. Because that's the other thing. I also make them based on 2 charts blended together called a partner code. So it can make an amazing wedding gift, for people, a couple, based on their charts blended together as one piece. So that's I love doing those. Those are really fun to do because it's 2 people, coming in a
Yeah,
piece.
that was another part of your service, which now that you mention, I forgot. Right, is like you can have a single and a partner, or a
And a
family.
family and a
So
family,
there's three.
yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
actually, you have like this. There's a little bit of going on, right? So like the three different ways, and then the four different sizes, and then the different colors. So
And there's also another way which I haven't really spoken much about yet, but it's something that I want to just make clear that it is possible because because the nature of astrology, anything can have an astrology chart. It doesn't just have to be a human, um, an event, the moment of an important decision or the opening of a business, all of that can have an astrology chart. So I want to start offering that to businesses, that they can have an astro code for the opening of their business or the day that they sign the contract or whatever significant moment for their business. That could be, that can be there in their shop or
Wow.
whatever.
So like the
Um,
A0 version, so the supersize.
yeah. God, I'd be here for many, many days. But yeah, exactly. There could be a supersized one.
The
And I
wall
also,
painting.
the wall painting, yeah. A lady actually asked if I could do like a wall size kind of mural. Is that how you say it?
Oh my God.
Mural of one, which I've never done art at all in any capacity, like bigger than that or bigger than what I have here. So, but it's something that I would be very intrigued to see if I could do that and create that
Wow.
scale.
Yeah. That would be
Yeah.
interesting to see how that's gonna feel. Now I know you have to go soon, so let's see what I will ask. When you said when you draw these drawings, these art pieces, these geometries, you've been doing it for 6 years, and you say it works on you. Did it? Did you feel how things like depending on? Do you have any memory of one art you did which kind of really opened up some blockages or energies in you? And you could feel like I made this
Mm.
art, and after I created it and looked at it, somehow I changed. I was a different person.
I'll be honest, I kind of feel like that after I've created every single one. It sounds quite extreme, but the nature of the work, because I'm tapping in, I'm 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 kind of coming out of myself, but in myself at the same time, and I'm making it because we're all mirrors of each other. So every time I create one, I just feel it's really hard to explain, but it just feels like something has been awakened in me and something's been cleared as well as with the person. Um, I think there have been certain ones that came through more strong than others. Not that they all come through strongly, but there's certain ones that just have a certain resonance that maybe just connects with me even more as I'm making it. Um, and it just teaches me the more that I make them just how much we are children of the elements, and that's such an amazing thing. And we have so much at our disposal that can help us through life. Just doing this work makes me realize how much is contained within each of us. And so whenever I'm making it, it just reaffirms that over and over again that like everything is okay. Like we have support inside of us. We each have such a unique imprint on the larger web of reality that is so incredible. If only we each knew that, within ourselves and could really feel that. So that's always what I'm feeling when I'm making them is just I'm in awe. I'm just in awe at how unique every single person is, at how unique every single piece comes out, how it feels to create them is always so different for each person. So in that sense, it gives me much greater compassion for individuals. I don't see people as strangers. Every person I walk past, I'm like, they've got a story. What are their elements? And I'm not looking at their front. Their. I mean, obviously, I have judgments. I'm human, but for the most part, if I'm in my temperate good mood, I'm like just intrigued. I'm always fascinated by humans. So this work has just made me so much more open to life in general and just the intricacies of everything. It's very hard to put it into words, but hopefully I've somehow
Yeah.
deconstructed that.
Um, I had a similar question to a friend of mine, like, how did she change and, how to do. And it's difficult to explain. It's something, an aspect of how we look at reality or ourselves or others has changed. And it's a small little aspect which makes such a big difference that
Yeah.
sometimes we do not really understand what happened.
No,
Where
no.
before we got triggered, we got annoyed or angry or left the scene. Now
Yeah,
it's okay, and we don't know why. And I guess it's
exactly.
just
You just have
so.
more you just have more like not acceptance, but just like there's not as much judgment on everything that happens. You kind of just being more of a witness. It's like you doing this and looking at the lens through astrology or anything like this, inner energetics. You can just witness people rather than be in this like, oh, I need to be in protected mode because they're going to do this or this to me. It's like, no, we're just all swimming in the soup of, you know, whatever this is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, at the octopus swimming in the water of the universe. That's what my friend
Yeah.
sent me today.
Love that. Yeah.
He went in and wants to see what the universe is made of, the space, and he saw an octopus, and he said, "Where are octopuses in water?" So okay, I
Yeah.
don't get it, but he has a different connection than
I
me.
get it, you know, it makes sense somewhere in there.
What? Okay, I just entertain with these different thoughts. So let me see where that leads.
'Cause we're multidimensional, that's what it is. Because 'cause we're all multidimensional, and octopus, you know, they're multifaceted.
Yeah. So what is reality for you? Like the thing we live here, the world, the reality we perceive as reality. What is that for you? What do you think it is?
I I don't know. It's such a big loaded question. I
Sorry.
think it's no, I want to like I wanna my perfectionist side is like, "Have a good answer, you better have a profound answer." Um, reality to me is just it's like a playground, and we just for whatever reason, we come here with our specific, you know, blueprint and our like internal makeup that leads us down certain roads. And really, it's just here for us to just keep coming back again, like coming back to our center, keep coming back to like not just being in this fight or flight mode. We're here to learn, we're here to love. You know, I think that can be so cheesy sometimes, but it's true. It's like just loving and learning how to just be safe in yourself. You know, I'm not saying it very well, but I
Oh,
just and reality at the larger thing. I mean, I think it's just all some weird light code frequency thing that maybe is emanated from the fractal of everything. That's another fractal within a fractal, and it's like there's no start or end. It's just this weird like code that we're in. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's flat, it's round, it's square, whatever it is. I think it's all energy. I think it's everything is wrong. We just live in like this weird holographic energy soup that we will never be able to explain. You know, it's just about learning, being, you know, like a solid person as much as you can, like not running away from your pain, you know, taking everything as an opportunity to learn, basically, and just yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
and play.
Life is play. Uh, the, now that we talked about the astrology chart, you mentioned blueprint. I've also been looking at Akashic record reading blueprint. The personal blueprint and so on, and human design, as I said, Gene Keys, astrology. And then people say, don't identify yourself too much with that. You can be
No,
whatever you want.
yeah,
How is your
exactly.
point? Like you can be whatever you want, but I'm born Aries, right? So I have really the tendency to just pull down my head and go straight. So now can I be just a Gemini?
Yeah, we're every
Is
we
it
could we
possible? Do you think we can just like looking at the astrology chart, we can just say, you know what, fuck that. I'm gonna be completely something else. Like I'm born in whatever sign.
uh I think you can try, and I actually think it's healthy to do that. I think if, for example, if you have a lot of planets in one area, it's actually better. It's good to look at the opposite sign. So I have a lot of planets in Libra. So actually, my medicine to balance out the strong focus in Libra is to look at more Aries way of being, like just not giving a fuck as much, not people pleasing, just being like, you know, yeah, like head forward, you know, regardless of what anyone else thinks, sort of thing. So in that sense, it's really helpful to kind of know your strength. My friend always talks about we just need to know our strengths and weaknesses. That's the most important self knowledge we can have. Like that's going to help you throughout life. So if you want to embody more qualities of another sign, of course, like that's really good and healthy that we should all strive to be rather than like, well, I'm, you know, Mars in like Aries, so I'm only going to be this way. I'm just this sort of person. Like, no, that's boring. That's just like, why would you just want to be one way and like challenge yourself? But at the same time, your astrology chart is this magnet at the core of you that you're going to have your tendencies that you revert back to. But it's almost like your parents at home, and then you go back home and you kind of have that home feeling, but you go out and you explore the world, but your roots are always going to be your roots. No matter where you are in the world, your roots, you can't change your roots because that's where you came from. And I think that's the same with astrology. It's there as like a guiding star of like, this is what you're working with. These are your fundamental things, but there's other ways to experience life and balance out whatever you've got going on. So, but yeah, it's people I think often will use astrology, and I've done that in the past. Like, well, this is just how I am. I'm always going to just be this way. And that's not where the growth is going to happen. We have to if anything, it can show you where you need to challenge yourself. So if you are Aries or you are Gemini or whatever, challenge those qualities and learn from the other signs, so you can become more whole. Yeah. So that's my immediate thoughts to that.
Okay, so use your astrology as like a homecoming. Go back to
Yeah.
the center to recharge, and then go out and explore to see different aspects and facets of being to
Yeah. It
grow.
just what the astrology chart just shows you your strengths and weaknesses. So you've just got a reference point of like, okay, if I'm in this situation, if I'm not being conscious, I'm probably going to act in this way. So do I want to act in that way? Yeah. Okay. That's fine. I'm fine with that. Maybe I don't want to act in that way. So now I have this information about myself. I can, figure out how to counteract that. So it's an information map. It's an informational tool that is so helpful to have as reference. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I have so many more questions. I have a few more questions,
Yeah,
but I think they
I have to
will
shoot out. Yeah, yeah,
exactly. But then
yeah.
they can end up 10 minutes of explanation for each question I have.
Yeah.
But so people, thank you for listening to this second episode. So this time was not about the music, and we'll find out if I can put some music in the beginning or end of the episodes for you to see, and perhaps a few graphics so you can also look at them to get a bit of idea. And where can people reach out to you?
So I'm on Instagram, my website. That's the main two places. So I have two Instagrams at the minute. So
Oh,
I'm sure you can put links below or
they're like
however.
Alice. What was it?
I have my music and my art. So it's Alice_visual or Alice_Hertz HZ.
Oh,
So for the frequency.
yeah. So I need
So
to follow both.
follow both. Yeah, I kind of want to bring it all under one roof, but I just need to wait until a certain Instagram handle is available because I want to bring it all together rather than split myself in all these different parts.
Yeah,
So
go back
yeah,
to the
yeah, exactly. So Instagram is probably the main place, and my website is Alice World, ALYSS World.xyz, and
yes.
people can learn more about me there and all the
Yeah.
weird, wonderful, strange, weird things I do.
Yes, and I also put the Spotify because I looked for Alice and there were like I don't know 7, 8, 10, and I was like, okay, which one is it?
Who is she?
Yes. So thank you so much, and
Thank you, thank you,
have a great evening. And I'm gonna
thank
do
you.
whatever. Now it's darkness here, and thanks.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're
dark
definitely
here.
gonna talk more.
Yeah, yeah, thank you for all your questions, and yeah, it's been great to connect.
Thanks.
But I went on a journey. I swear I saw you in another light. It was different. And the chords I hold, through to the angels to keep safe.